2nd century ancient Rome had a problem, this newfangled religion called Christianity. Romans generally didn't care what god you worshipped. You could worship the dung heap god or the doorknob god for all they cared, as long as you also paid homage to the imperial gods. But what's one thing we know about Christians? Aggressively monotheistic. I am the Lord and there is no other gods before me, and so on. These two systems could not coexist in perpetuity. And yet, in an early 2nd century exchange of letters between Emperor Trajan and provincial governor Pliny the Younger, we learn that the imperial position in the early 100s towards the Christians was still fairly hands-off. Trajan's policy was to punish Christians if brought to trial, but not to go actively looking for them. By the end of the century, the imperial program of persecution increased in severity and scope, as Emperor Septimius Severus actively sought out Christians to persecute them. 2nd century persecution of Christians was still mostly local and infrequent, but by century's end was significantly worse than it had been in the 1st, and yet not near as intense as it would be in the 3rd. What explains this change? Simply put, Christianity was growing in popularity and the empire was beginning to show cracks. In times of civil strife, it is very common for a society to blame a minority group, and we will see that in brutal detail in the 3rd century.